Good morning, everybody. Friday, November 10th, 9 a.m. Eastern. So we have a little bit of a weaker start in SPY today. And I'm going to be watching the hourly time frame for every individual name and every individual market because that is giving us the clearest picture of what's going on. So we had the dump yesterday and a very strong bounce. We have to form now a higher low compared to the low of yesterday and then break the high of the bounce. So for any individual name, the low of yesterday is key support. The high of the bounce into the afternoon is key resistance. This weakness that we're seeing pre-market, the bulls are looking to form a higher low compared to the low of yesterday. And then we have to see follow through for the bulls to break the high of the afternoon bounce attempt for continuation. So for SPY, that level is 258.44, and anything above 256.36 is a higher low. We have the 200 period hourly moving average support trying to hold. And we'll be watching to see if we can get over the hourly 20-period resistance, which did reject the high of that bounce attempt yesterday afternoon. So a bit of caution as we are seeing a little bit of profit, taking a little bit of consolidation. The daily chart is still holding the middle Bollinger Band for SPY. If that level were to be lost, it would be a red flag. But as of right now, it is just watching this hourly tightening pattern to see if the bulls can pull off this higher low. On the 5-minute time frame, we are trying to get all 5-minute moving averages as support. If we can start today with all those levels as support and make our way up into the 258s, that will show some recovery. And again, we'll just be looking at the high of yesterday's bounce attempt recovery. And if we look at any individual name, Amazon here, it's not as clear, but we have our low of the dump, high of the bounce, trying to form that higher low. You can just see it's an equilibrium pattern on Amazon. We look at Apple, same thing, equilibrium pattern, higher low, lower high, tightening hourly. So definitely a lot of key hourly setups to be watching this morning. There's the daily chart with the middle Bollinger Band support. That's going to be in the low 257s today. We're going to start the day with that level as support. And as long as we close above it, there's no red flags. There would be a red flag for the bulls, and the bears would take over the short term if we break the low of today. So that's a very important support level of 256.36. And right now we're trading a bit over that level, so certainly not an immediate concern. But if that were to break, that would be notable weakness on this daily time frame as we head into next week. So that is an important support level for the bulls to maintain. Checking the dollar on the daily time frame, we are right at our support. We broke it by 1 penny. Not a convincing break at this point. 94.41, 94.40. So break down, and there's a lack of support until 93.48. So we're seeing a bit more weakness now. We had a double top. We pulled back and had a double bottom. And now we're potentially breaking that double bottom to favor the bears. So we have to see this 94.40 level hold, which is on the verge of a breakdown in my opinion. Shorter term RSI levels are not oversold. So you just watch this 15-minute. It's essentially a descending triangle pattern with a horizontal base of support and downtrend resistance. This dollar descending triangle is the one to be watching into today. And obviously, if you are a gold bull, you want to be watching this due to the inverse correlation between the two. So checking in on gold on the daily time frame, we've had some nice follow through on the bull break over the low 1280s, but we need further follow through, and really a break of 1290, 96 to end this week would be the goal for the bulls. So a breakdown of the dollar would likely see a bull break for gold. Keeping in mind that the bull miners in gold are not seeing the kind of correlation and strength that you would anticipate with the amount of gold strength that we've seen, which hasn't been a huge move, but we've been seeing a nice uptrend the past few days, and it's still a pretty muted reaction by these bull miners, even though the market's at all-time highs. That has me a bit cautious in bull miners until we see them pick up the correlation and see the strength that gold is seeing. Just something to make note of, but it's all about $94.40 support. Natural gas is now pulling back, consolidating, a bearish reversal candlestick forming on the daily after 6 green days in a row. We did break the lower high pattern, so this consolidation is a potential bullish entry opportunity where we look to form a higher low on this pullback. So the 4-hour time frame, we have higher lows still intact. Key support is 315.2. Anything above 315.2 is still another higher low, keeping those bulls in control of this 4-hour time frame. And right now, it would take a bounce attempt, a lower high, and then a lower low to completely shift this 4-hour trend. And you can see how clear this stair-step trend is on natural gas, still holding for the bulls. Oil on the daily time frame, new support established at 56.39, and the bulls are trying to make their way back up to the recent high of 57.89. Inside bars on the daily time frame, multiple days in a row as we tighten up, and the bulls want to see a break of 57.50 to end this week on a very bullish note, breaking that daily inside bar and going right back to our recent highs. Checking in on the cryptocurrency world, we have a dump here in Bitcoin. We're watching for an oversold bounce trying to play out. Hourly RSI did dip down below 30. It's seeing a bounce attempt at this point. It's not a very significant bounce attempt, so we do need to be cautious of a potential another leg to the downside, as the 4-hour RSI is in the 30s, and we'll be watching it. Another leg down would send us close to 4-hour oversold levels. But as far as the 5-minute time frame is concerned, we're still in a lower high pattern, and we have to see the lower highs break to favor the bulls. So here on the 5-minute, we actually did just break it, 68.72. We did get up to 68.79, so we need higher lows and higher highs now on the 5-minute. This isn't the kind of bounce that we're used to seeing on oversold dumps in terms of a very significant flush and volume climax and fast bounce. So we need to be cautious and protect our trades and perhaps scale out a little bit as we see a little bit of the bounce play out, depending on which one you're playing. So it's a different setup for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, but Bitcoin needs to really see a break of 69.47 for this bounce to get significant follow through, as that is the first little bounce attempt high that we formed here in the past couple hours. Ethereum is just grinding along support here, a descending triangle pattern with just a lower high, base of support, lower high. So we're getting very, very tight. Another leg down to 300 is possible if 307 were to break. So again, want to protect these trades right now. Ethereum is the weakest bounce attempt playing out. And we look at Litecoin. Litecoin needs to break 61.62 to break the lower high pattern. I am currently in a Litecoin position, and I will be looking to exit my target. If I hit 62.50, that makes my day. So I would like to scale out 62.50 and above, ideally, and we'll see if that can follow through. 15-minute bounce trying to play out. We did form this little higher low, and we need that higher high now by getting over 61.62 on the 15-minute time frame. So that's a key resistance that's about to be tested. And again, there's a correlation with Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin were to head back down, we would definitely need to be cautious. But Litecoin has a wall of support, 15,000 coins at $60. So that's what I'm playing based off of as well. And if that were to break, I would exit my position into that wall and reload, perhaps $1 cheaper on the flush that would follow it. But that would be a volume climax dump if that were to play out. Ideally, we just head up to 62.50 right now, and that will make the trade. So let's look at, I'm going to start off with my game plan for WEED. This is certainly a question I get 45 times a day. So WEED on the 15-minute is a very clear equilibrium pattern. You cannot get more clear than this. We have the range of yesterday was our low of the dump, high of the bounce, higher low, lower high, higher low, right in the middle of this range as we closed yesterday. So support is 1912, resistance is 1956. If we break 1956 first thing, it is bullish. If we break 1912 first thing, it is bearish. That is going to dictate what I am looking to do here with my trades this morning. So I currently entered about 60% of a position yesterday, and I will be looking to exit that position if we see a bear break of that 1912 level. So pre-market, we're seeing a little bit of upside potentially with the open, but I'm liking the fact that we're going to pretty much open within this range the way it's set up right now, and that will give us a clear, real trading, real-time watch of this of these levels to see which direction we do break. If we see a break of 1943, 1956, and 1995 are the three levels to be watching. And if 1912 breaks, I would like to be out, as after 1888, we're looking down at 1857, and that's more risk than I want to take on heading into next week, especially if we end this week with some bear momentum. So that's my game plan for WEED, and again, the levels cannot be more clear than this. Watch the 15-minute time frame, equilibrium pattern, and that's worth watching as well if you're looking to get into the MJ sector. TWMJF for the US ticker. It is going to see a clear break today, and it might be a bull break. We'll see if we end next week or end this week with some bull momentum into next week. Also going to be watching all of our tech names, and Netflix has been the lead tech bear over the last 5 days. We do have bullish reversal candlesticks on these names, but again, if we cannot break the high of the afternoon bounce from yesterday, it will be notable. So I pull up the hourly time frame for Netflix, and I see that the high of the bounce yesterday afternoon was up at 194.15, and the bulls are now attempting to form a higher low compared to the low of yesterday, 190.81, but we're still struggling at the 20-period hourly resistance for Netflix. So I cannot stress, sometimes, some days, the setups for the hourly time frames are so much better than other days, and this is one of those days where it's just the hourly time frame is the backbone of our analysis today, and Netflix is giving a really clear view that the bears still have a pretty firm grasp on Netflix, even though that long lower wick was there yesterday. This hourly time frame is not giving confidence to the bulls where we currently stand right now. So going to be watching that, going to be watching some of the Blockchain stocks, BTL.V was the lead bull yesterday, trying to stay above the upper Bollinger Band in breakout mode, low cap, high risk, high reward name. As long as the daily keeps forming higher lows, the bulls are in control and holding on just fine. And 684 is resistance. We'll see if the bulls can break that level first thing. Also, PCLN, watching to see if we can get bounce continuation. The bulls have to break the high of yesterday first thing, 1707, to see this bounce play out, with 1748 as the next level after that. If we cannot break 1707 in the first 15 minutes of trading, look for some potential profit taking, as we are only anticipating a short-term oversold bounce on PCLN and not anticipating any kind of trend change or anything like that. So let's get into some morning setups here on the 5 and, again, hourly setups, with hourly certainly being important. BAC, financial sector being beat up, BAC bouncing. So BAC has a higher low and a higher high now, so that is a change in the trend. Lower highs and lower lows for days on the dump, higher low and higher high, with a big bullish reversal doji and a volume climax yesterday. Yesterday was the highest volume that we've seen in a day in weeks, and it looks like a volume climax. Resistance is 26.66. After that, we're looking up at 26.88. And the bulls want to keep the hourly 20-period moving average as support to stay in full control. 26.66 was the high of yesterday. If we break that, the odds of confirming the bullish reversal candlestick from yesterday will increase. Apple, bulls bought the dip significantly yesterday, but we are in an equilibrium pattern. So we have our all-time high, low of a pullback, lower high, higher low. Right now, the range, including pre-market levels, is 174.30, and resistance is up at 176.08. So very tight. We're right in the middle of that range. A break of 176.08 is bullish, and a break of 174.30 is bearish. That's where we stand on the hourly equilibrium pattern for Apple. TRXC. Checking the 5-minute time frame, as we are seeing a little bit of a downtrend. The high of yesterday was 299, so we are seeing a small gap up. Pretty decent gap up. 319 is key resistance. The bulls want to break 319, the sooner the better. That's a daily resistance to get over, and then we're looking at 340 after that. So a lack of resistance and support pre-market. A little bit of volume goes a long way. So we'll see if the bulls can break 319 first thing and establish that the bulls have momentum this morning. LAC.TO. If we consolidate on TRXC, we'll be looking at $3 psychological support. LAC.TO was an inside bar on the daily yesterday. The bulls need to break 11.15 and 11.25 was the next level after that. And in terms of support, I'm seeing a key support of 1072, the low of some consolidation yesterday afternoon. So 1072 is support, 1077 is support if you want a tighter stop. Clear higher low pattern into the afternoon needs to hold for the bulls to maintain their strength this morning. ALB, not much going on pre-market, but the daily chart is seeing a long lower wick of bulls buying the dip yesterday. Support to keep the higher lows, 135.25, and we bounced off of 136.39, and we are seeing a open pretty much right where we closed. Resistance will be 142.44. So looking at the hourly time frame, we can see a bounce attempt with still a lot of moving average resistances for the bulls to get through here. If we can't get over these moving average resistances, and if we can't break the high of yesterday, we will very likely form a daily inside bar, and watching for a potential shift in momentum. But the lower Bollinger Band on the daily time frame continues to hold each test, so we're going to have to see these Bollinger Bands expand if the bears have any hope for some downside. But it's all about these exponential, or I should say these hourly moving average resistances first thing. If we cannot get over them, we're heading back down, and I'll be looking at support of 138.08. UA trying to see an oversold bounce play out, still struggling at the daily exponential resistances. We've got 11.24 as resistance, and we closed just above the 4-period daily exponential resistance. So the bulls need to maintain higher lows and higher highs, and checking the 5-minute time frame from yesterday's action to get some levels, we can see a pretty big sell-off into the end of the day. The bulls want to see a break of 11.03 first thing to try and make their way back towards that high of yesterday, 11.24. So 11.03 would open up some space up towards that 11.24 level, and a bear break would occur at 10.91, the low of that afternoon consolidation. HIMX. HIMX on the daily time frame. Gap and trap scenario yesterday. The bulls, big sell-off right at the open. So the 50-day moving average support has held the last 3 back tests. That's at 1031, and the bulls did hold that level. We've got resistance. High of the bounce attempt was 1060. If we break 1060, we are looking back up towards that high of yesterday, really 11 psychological and 1110. So there's not much resistance after 1060 if the bulls can break that level first thing. And the gap up open scenario seems to be a sell the open every time. I'm looking at the 3-month daily chart. Every time we see a gap up open, it's a big red candlestick day. Well, I won't say every time, but it's definitely a notable pattern where we often see sell the gap up. I'm seeing it twice in the last 5 days. So definitely something to note with the historical pattern on HIMX. But as long as the 50-day moving average support holds, the bulls will keep this daily uptrend. We're getting very tight on the daily chart with lower highs and higher lows. And I would say 50-day moving average support is a must hold, and must break resistance is now 1110, a double top on the daily time frame. That's probably why we saw that sell-off yesterday. Inability to break 1110 first thing was a signal for profit taking. ON is a semiconductor. Not really seeing much pre-market action, so not sure how we're going to react to the NVDA earnings report. I'm looking at resistance of 2174 and then looking at 2176. In terms of support, the bulls need to keep this 5-minute end of the day pattern that we had for support, keeping the bulls in control. I'm looking at 2137, 2128. Those are 2 important levels for the bulls to maintain. Still very strong on the daily time frame. Higher lows holding daily exponential supports for the last 2.5 months. And need to see a break, ideally, break the high of yesterday, the sooner the better, 2176, to try and see some follow-through and correlation with NVDA. Already did TRXC. Speaking of NVDA, we got profit taking. We need to be cautious on NVDA. If we don't break the all-time high first thing, if we don't break 212.90, we will see profit taking. So that is the level. 212.90 is the all-time high. If we cannot break that, we need to be cautious. The support that we're going to be looking at, we have to look at yesterday's reaction and the levels to earnings. I'm looking at support. If we break 212, I'm looking down 209.58 and then 208.50. It's not looking good. This is not the momentum the bulls want into the open. So there is definitely profit taking going on. The bulls can show up. It's just $1 away to the all-time high, but we need to be very cautious if we don't get an all-time high today. I already did BAC, ZAGG. So ZAG is strong for the bulls, but we have a double top at 1960 that we have to be very cautious of. If we break 1845, that is a red flag for the bulls, and then we're looking down at 18 and 1785. Double top at the all-time high, and a loss of the daily higher lows. Very cautious if we break the low of yesterday first thing. Otherwise, it's 19 and 1960 resistances. SOGO. SOGO, new IPO. Bull start to the morning, 20-period 5-minute moving average holding. We're looking at resistance of 1450, 1464, 1470 as the 3 resistances, and a break of 1395 would be a red flag. And that 20-period 5-minute is guiding the bulls up this morning, so that's an important level to be watching as well. AMDA. All 5-minute moving averages support big bullish reversal candlestick yesterday, and looking for a gap up open. It's a big gap up open. Resistance is 461 and 480. Higher pre-market is 480. So if we see some, this is not a lot of volume pre-market to see this gap up, so we need to be cautious of that. If we see some profit taking, $4 will be psychological support. And we don't have the 20-period 5-minute as our guide on this gap up open, so the bulls need to hold the 5-minute exponential moving averages while this 20-period tries to catch up. Very cautious after the very strong open, or the much higher open, I should say, with this gap up. But as long as we hold that 5-minute exponential, the bulls certainly do have control. TKTO. No chart for TKTO. Not sure what ticker it is. I'm not getting it on either of my charting services. AIM bull breakout yesterday, close above the upper Bollinger Band. 286 is resistance, and it looks like we are breaking significant levels after 286 is $3 psychological. There's a lack of resistance where we are going on the weekly chart because of the all-out dump we had from $8 to $150, so an all-out disaster dump that we are recovering from. Keep in mind there's a lot of bag holders on this name, but we've got resistance at $3 after 286. Bear break would occur at 277, and then I'm looking down at 265 after that. Really strong uptrend yesterday, but the bulls want to maintain this 5-minute higher low and need to break 286 first thing to show the bulls have power for continuation. HIVE.V. The hive on the daily time frame is getting very tight, and we're going to see a break in the next couple days. Inside bar on the daily, 405 break is bearish, 433 break is bullish. If we break bearish, we're looking at 370. If we break bullish, we're looking up at 445 and 464. So it's all about the daily inside bar, first things first, and the range of yesterday to see which direction we are going to break with momentum. NLC.V. Upper wake-up profit taking, rejecting from the daily middle Bollinger Band resistance yesterday. So we saw a bounce attempt that failed. Daily middle Bollinger Band is now a key resistance. So keep an eye on that level. It's going to be at about 190 at the open today. And the must-hold support, we have a double bottom at 170, 171. So those are must-hold levels. But if the bulls can't get over the daily middle Bollinger Band, the bears are going to keep control. We've had that daily middle Bollinger Band as support for 2.5 months. And now we have lost it, and we're back testing and rejecting from it. Definitely need to be cautious of that. WTW. I'll look at NVDA here right before the open again to see if that bear momentum is continuing. WTW is a daily inside bar, watching the hourly time frame. Resistance is 47.18, and support is 46 even and 45.18. So essentially 45.18 support, 47.18 resistance is the range on WTW to be watching. And a bear break, we're heading right back down to the lows, and a bull break, and the oversold bounce will have further momentum. So IWM, we have our higher low established now. Key support to maintain is 146.23, and the bulls have to see a break of 146.97 for the hourly time frame to get that higher low and higher high and reverse this lower high, lower low pattern. So it's all about the high of yesterday afternoon bounce attempt. 146.97 needs to break for the bulls. PANW, trying to see an oversold bounce play out. So we had an all-out dump yesterday. This is a weak bounce attempt, but the bulls have a bit of upside. We have to watch the hourly 20-period moving average resistance. That's going to be a very key resistance level, and if that does break, then we are going to see further continuation on this oversold bounce. But if that does not break, the bears are going to remain in full control, and we're just going to set a lower high. The hourly RSI has cooled off now. We can absolutely see downside from here. So looking at the 5-minute time frame, a loss of the 20-period 5-minute moving average, and if we lose all 5-minute moving averages, that will definitely be a red flag for the bulls. ACB, inside bar on the daily, break of 405 is bullish, break of 383 is bearish. The bulls have control. We're looking for a new all-time high if we break 405 by getting over 410. So bulls definitely still have control. We're in breakout mode on the daily, and ACB is certainly one to be watching as we are going to be testing these key resistances first thing. STM. Consolidation day yesterday on a lot of volume. We have to be cautious after such a bull run over the past few weeks. 2301 is support. If we break 2301, we're going to be looking down at 2248. And the bulls want to see 2381 as support to turn all 5-minute moving averages into support. And 2385 was the high of yesterday. So we could test that high of yesterday early on here. If we don't break 2381, we are going, or I should say 2385, the high of yesterday, we're going to look for, at best case scenario, a daily inside bar. Otherwise, 2301 support will be the level to watch if we reject from 2385. If we break 2385, 24 psychological is the next level, and there's a gap up to 2424 on the daily time frame. FIRE. Fire is a daily inside bar as well to be watching. 138 is a double bottom the past 2 days. If we break 138, we look to 133. And if we break 143, the high of yesterday, we look to 148. So it's all about the range of yesterday, tightening pattern, declining volume. 138 is a must hold. And if the bulls can break 143 first thing, they will have a little bit of bull momentum in their favor. GE. Starting with all 5-minute moving averages as support. In order to see the daily oversold bounce play out, bulls have to break 2053 to see a higher low and a higher high. Still struggling at the daily exponential resistances and still need another couple percent to the upside to break that resistance to prove that this bounce has follow through, which at this point, it does not. So we have to be cautious. RHT. Breakout mode yesterday. All-time high is up at 70 cents. If the bulls could break 70 cents, the party continues. If we can't break 70 cents, look for consolidation. And I'm looking at support of 67 and then 64. Break of 67 without breaking 70 lets us know that some shorter term consolidation is likely to occur. BOTZ. BOTZ support is 23.75 and resistance is 24.17. The high of yesterday going to be tested first thing. If we break 24.17, we're looking up at 24.36 after that. This is an interesting name because it is a AI ETF, and it's been seeing big-time gains the last 3 months. So worth keeping an eye on. Certainly AI is a hot sector these days. It's the new tech, and BOTZ, worth watching for that correlation to that sector. Tinka Resources Limited. The daily chart's an inside bar, 77 support, 84 resistance. If we break 84, we look to 87. If we break 77, we look to 76, and then there's a gap at 75. So it's all about that daily inside bar and how it breaks. Have to be cautious after seeing such a run. We've seen almost a 50% run the past week. If we break inside bar bearish, then consolidation's coming. VRX. VRX is in breakout mode on the daily time frame. Higher lows and higher highs continuing. 1555 is resistance. We're seeing a little bit of weakness here on the 5-minute time frame. If we lose this hourly 20-period moving average of 1517, we're going to be looking down at 15 psychological and then 1454. So it's a clear stair-step pattern on this hourly time frame. And we're going to be watching for any changes in that to indicate that daily consolidation is coming. And there's no sign of that unless we, first things first, have to break the 20-period hourly. If that holds, the bulls remain in full control. And keep an eye on the daily upper Bollinger Band. The bulls need to close over that daily upper Bollinger Band to remain in breakout mode. AVGO. All 5-minute moving averages as resistance. 262.50 is support. And resistance is going to be the high of yesterday. Rejecting from hourly resistance and heading back down towards our low of 262.50. So I'm seeing that resistance at 267. That's the range to be watching. Bears still in control of AVGO at this point. NVDA. So we still are definitely looking for an all-time high. Nice recovery on this 5-minute candlestick heading into the open. And we'll see if we can regain all 5-minute moving averages as support. TAN, which is a solar ETF. TAN support is 24.20 for the bulls to stay in control. It's healthy consolidation at this point. If we break 24.20, it will no longer be a potential bull flag, but it is currently a potential bull flag. The bulls have to get back over the hourly 20-period resistance of 24.49. I would use the 15-minute time frame for TAN right now because it's a clear lower high, lower low pattern on this daily consolidation, and noting the shift from higher low to higher high after that would indicate that the bulls are showing back up. MTS.V. Higher low pattern on the daily time frame, 159, and yesterday was 172 that must hold. Resistance is $2. If we break 172, which it looks like we might first thing, 159 is the absolute must hold, or the trend is going to shift to favor the bears after being in a long-term bull uptrend. So NVDA bulls strong first thing. WEED bulls getting a break first thing. Let's see if we can break 1995 now. I would be surprised if the bulls in WEED are able to break that level. Perhaps, though, if ACB gets an all-time high here, which we are about to test, that could bring the sector correlation to favor the bulls and help WEED along as well. If we don't break 1695, we are still in a tightening pattern, not so much the 15-minute tightening pattern, but I'm seeing some shares build on the ask, and it looks like we're going to see tightening range continue today. Break of 1970 here in the next 5 minutes would certainly go a long way to give the bulls some further confidence, but ACB is pulling back from that all-time high right now. Very nice recovery for NVDA first thing. Profit taking into the open and bulls showing up in a big way. 216.38 and 216.75 are pre-market high resistances on NVDA. PayPal and SQ. PayPal 74.06 is resistance. Bulls really want to break 74.20 first thing, the high of yesterday. The bulls bought the dip yesterday, and if we can break that high and see follow through, we will be looking for bulls to be looking right back up at the all-time high. So that's our new gauge of strength, the low of yesterday. And if we break 74.20 and close above that level, that would be a good sign for the bulls heading into next week. But we still have the last 5-minute moving average resistance to test. SQ, all-time high up at 38.01. Bulls trying to test that level first thing. If we don't break 38.01 on this bull push, we can be looking for some healthy profit taking and a daily inside bar to form heading into next week. Bit of profit taking on WEED as ACB is at the all-time high test. And we're going to need WEED bulls to establish a higher low of support. We're seeing a lot of profit taking in the blockchain sector, the blockchain stocks that were really overbought. BLOC support is 277 and 269. So I'm very cautious on that sector. We need consolidation in that sector to be looking for some nice bullish entries. So patiently waiting here with no rush, trying to buy consolidation again because we have run so significantly. So we've got some red on the screen today with SPY trying to get over all 5-minute moving average resistances to be in a position to see continued recovery towards the high of the bounce of yesterday, but as of right now, still seeing a bit of weakness. New all-time high for ACB. Nice bull break. We're looking at 415 and 420 as the next resistances, just psychological levels at this point. GGI. Daily time frame for GGI is bearish. Support is 374, and we broke that significantly with a gap down. So that bear break yesterday of 385 is continuing to see follow through. 335 is support on the daily. That's why we bounced off that level. And then next would be 316. So again, watch for the gap fill. 415 fills the gap, but we filled the gap yesterday and then faded. And I take that back. 374 fills the gap. But yesterday we filled the gap and then closed at the low of the day. So ACB is the lead bull of the Canadian MJ sector so far right now, today, with this follow through at the all-time high. Amazon, lead bull it looks like, big green candlestick. So any name that's green certainly stands out with the market red right now. Amazon breaking the high of yesterday and seeing the bounce follow through. 1135.54 is the all-time high. So we just have the all-time high resistance to be watching as the bulls are trying to make their way to that level. You can see the WEED bulls are responding to the ACB correlation and bull run at those all-time highs. So a nice new high of the day for everybody in the sector. Nice to see that they've all got each other's back. So NVDA is establishing a range now. We just set resistance with a big upper wick at 215.77. Must hold support is 211.20, but we're going to see a lot of volatility today. MU, bullish reaction to earnings of NVDA. Not seeing that sell-off just yet, but it might be a laggard, so we have to be cautious. And we're looking at resistance of 44.24. Break of 44.24, and we're looking back towards the all-time high. And we have an equilibrium pattern for MU on the daily forming, higher lows and lower highs, and a break of 44.24 would shift that to favor the bulls. Checking back in on the cryptocurrency bounce, really just trading sideways, not much going on, slow and steady, which means we need to be cautious. We don't have the bounce follow through that we're looking for just yet, but there's no real red flags unless we head back down to the lows of this bounce attempt. SPY is still seeing a bit of weakness, led by the tech sector. Tech sector is much weaker than the financial sector so far this morning, and it looks like, look at Netflix dump. I love when the charts tell us the weakest name days before we see dumps. Netflix showed us it was the weakest name 3 days ago in the tech sector. We backtested and rejected from the middle Bollinger Band daily resistance, and now we're just seeing lower highs and lower lows on the hourly. As the daily chart has shifted the trend to lower highs and lower lows, we have broken support after the 50-day moving average of 189.62. The next Netflix support, there's a little gap all the way down at 179.70. Netflix is so very clearly the lead tech bear that we've been watching out of the big five over the last 4 days, and it's following through in a big way. So 2 days ago, I said tech sector weakness. We look to Netflix because it's already shown us weakness. And now the tech sector has been consolidating for 2 days, and Netflix has been magnifying that move very significantly comparative to its counterparts in the same sector. BAC, trying to hold the 20-period 5-minute moving average support. We already did break the high of yesterday, so that's a good sign. And BAC is holding up stronger than the sector as a whole, the financial sector. But we do need to be cautious because the financial sector is red and down at the low of the day. If we lose the 20-period 5-minute moving average support, we're looking at 26.52, and resistance is 26.74, followed by 26.96. So the bulls are still holding on here, but we do need to be cautious as we do have financial sector weakness at this point. Tesla, bulls trying to bounce. I personally have no interest in Tesla for the bulls unless we break 307.50. We've been struggling at these daily exponential resistances 4 days in a row. We're at that level right now, 304.33. And we have a higher low now on the daily from the low of yesterday, but we have to break 307.50 to see that higher low translate into a higher high. So that's just me personally. With the way the daily chart is set up, I don't like Tesla in either direction where we currently trade in this range. I would want to see a break of 307.50 to be confident the bulls are going to show up on this daily oversold bounce attempt. GS. Daily middle Bollinger Band, 242.16 is a must close above level for the bulls. So 242.16 resistance. And upper wicks rejecting from that middle Bollinger Band 3 days in a row, unless we can close over it today. So we're still holding up on the 5-minute time frame, looking just fine. But again, financial sector is at the low of the day. SPY is seeing weakness. So we do need to be cautious if the financial sector heads down further. XLF on the hourly time frame has to form a higher low compared to the low of yesterday, and it does look like the bulls will be able to pull that off. So still worth keeping an eye on the financial sector for a bounce to play out. And there are names that are stronger than the sector as a whole, like BAC. Here goes PCLN now, testing the high of yesterday, trying to see follow through on this bounce. Have to break 17.07, and then we're just looking at psychological levels, 17.10, 17.15. NVDA, I would look for an equilibrium pattern to be established using the 2-minute time frame due to volatility. We have our high and our low set now. I would expect a lower high compared to 215.77. But if that breaks, obviously it's a very bullish break. Use a 2-minute time frame for NVDA. Our OKU is all bull. Absolute breakout mode to all-time highs. 34 and 35 resistances. Apple trying to bounce after a quick flush first thing. The hourly time frame is still tight. We have a new higher low on the hourly tightening pattern of 174.27. And resistance is 175.48. High of the day test for WEED would be really comforting if we could break 1995 today. A close over 20 would be very good heading into next week. IMG.TO. Five-minute moving averages have resistance at 771. Inside bar on the daily time frame yesterday for IMG. Resistance was 797. Support was 758. So we're still in a daily inside bar, forming another one now. Low of yesterday and low of today within a penny of each other. And need to see that all 5-minute moving averages become support for the bulls. So NVDA trying to break the all-time high and the high of the day, but the 2-minute equilibrium chart would indicate more likely than not to see an equilibrium pattern. But if we do break to a new all-time high here, that would definitely show strength. ACB testing its all-time high. WEED hitting a new high of the day, testing the high of yesterday, 1995 resistance as we approach. So SPY is up at the high of the day now, so it is the financial sector with a complete turnaround. So now that we have established our low of the day for the financial sector, if we hit a new high of the day, that will certainly be a great sign for these names that are showing strength, like BAC, which is holding its 20-period 5-minute moving average. X on the daily time frame, 20-period 5-minute moving average holding as support, and the bull is showing up. And this makes the bullish action a lot more clear. I've been very unclear with X's trading over the past couple days, but we do have a higher low, higher high pattern now. Very clear on the hourly time frame. The next resistance is 27.94 and then 28 psychological. And the bulls want to hold all 5-minute moving averages as support. The 20-period doing a good job holding the low of the day first thing at the open. If you are not in our OKU at this point, you do not want to be buying up here and chasing. We just ran 10% plus from the open. And risk to reward does not favor reward for an entry up here. So we do have a 2-minute equilibrium pattern on NVDA playing out with a lower high compared to the all-time high by 7 cents. Financial sector trying to make its way to the high of the day. Keep that eye on BAC and the other strong names in the sector. CRM support is the low of yesterday, 102.41. A break of that level as we head to test it would be bearish, and then we would be looking at 101.75 after that. Momentum shifting a little bit on the daily time frame. But if we can hold 102.41, the bulls will remain in control on the daily, and we'll likely see an inside bar today, so that low of yesterday's support needs to hold. So let's see if NVDA can get a bull break. Again, 2-minute pattern showing us a lot more details. Thanks for the heads up on a Monday holiday. I would actually be able to sell on Monday because I have TWMJF. And TWMJF will trade on Monday. I don't expect a ton of volatility, but I will still be able to maneuver my position. I have the day test for WEED. All about 1995. NVDA is certainly still very bullish, and with the break of the new high of day, the high of pre-market 216.75 is the next level to watch. And the financial sector bulls would love a new high of the day. 26.23 would do it. So checking in on that WEED 15-minute equilibrium pattern with a clear bull break, but it's all about 1995 from here, and we just hit a little bit of a double top at 1988. So we do need to be cautious. For the bulls to be confident, it's going to require a break of 1995 today. Otherwise, we're still in a little bit of indecision as to whether or not our bottom is in for now, because we will not be confirming the bullish reversal candlestick from yesterday if we can't break the high of yesterday. So checking back in on SPY. Bulls still battling to keep all 5-minute moving averages as support. NVDA, we're expecting a higher low on the 2-minute time frame in that equilibrium pattern. Higher low compared to 211.63. So if we were to drop down into the 212s here, that would be a potential entry point and stop loss level utilizing the 2-minute equilibrium pattern that is forming. Tesla's coming up to 307.50 resistance. The daily chart for Tesla has a higher low established with the low of yesterday, and now the bulls are trying to see a higher high. After 307.50, it's 308.69 before we start filling the gap. Five-minute RSI on Tesla is extremely overbought. We're up at 81, so you wouldn't want to make an entry on this initial 307.50 break. You would enter on consolidation after this bull move. But right now, it's not a convincing break at this point. It's a battle at that level. Nice break on WEED, new high. Here comes that test, 1995. Thanks for the heads up. So it looks like the Canadian Toronto Exchange is not closed on Monday. I'll confirm that once I can get on the Google machine. Google and Netflix are definitely showing, well, Google still looks just fine on the daily time frame. Our new gauge of support is 1035.85, the low of yesterday. So not ready to go bearish on Google. We have an equilibrium pattern, higher lows and lower highs. So as far as a daily time frame is concerned, not ready to go bearish on Google. So Tesla is now convincingly breaking 307.50, so on consolidation. We can be looking for a bull entry because this daily chart is now shifting to favor these bulls. If we break 308.69, we're filling a gap, and there's a lack of resistance after that. So the gap to fill is up at 320.26. So definitely a great start to the day. Nice bull break on WEED. If we can get over this 20 wall, things will be wonderful. But this is definitely more convincing bullish action, and we're looking to confirm the bullish reversal candlestick from yesterday. So what I'm anticipating now on WEED on the daily time frame is an equilibrium pattern where we have our high at 2172, our low now, the low of yesterday, 1803. I would expect a lower high somewhere below 2172. If we've got 2 more trading days heading into earnings, probably heading into earnings in a range near where we're trading right now, $20, $21. And then as for the reaction to earnings, that's anybody's guess. But I will likely take profit before earnings just to not subject myself to that gamble. At the very least, I would take half profit. But still a couple days to go, so the bulls have made their break today and now patiently waiting for higher lows and higher highs on the 5-minute time frame that we can be watching to make sure the bulls have their control on the day. Been all bull since the open. The 5-minute time frame on WEED does not really have a support level established. So if we break, or I should say if we reject from this $20 psychological level, we will look for a higher low to form, ideally seeing 1970 or 1980 hold. ACB still strong up at the highs, and APH at the highs as well. Netflix definitely had a nice bounce off the lows. And we'll look for the hourly time frame. 20-period hourly resistance rejected the last bounce attempt yesterday. That's up at 193.17. I don't think the bulls are going to make it all the way up to that level. But we do have the 20-period 5-minute resistance at 192.41. ZAGG. So looking like we did break 1845 by 5 cents. Not a clear bear break, but unlikely that we're going to make it up to 1960 today. But that's the resistance to be watching. So still healthy consolidation. The fact that we didn't dump once we broke 1840, that's a good sign. Nice bull break on weed over 20. This bounce is following through very nicely. MU watching the correlation to NVDA, which is still in its tightening range. That 2-minute time frame for NVDA is going to be a nice one to watch. MU, all about 44.24, has not broken yet. Support is 43.82 and 43.94. WEED is certainly getting overextended on the 5-minute time frame. There's a lack of resistance up at this area, but I would be looking for a temporary top to be set in the near-term future. But this is exactly what we were looking for to play out. Next resistance, 2043. IWM all bull so far this morning, holding 5-minute exponential moving average supports on the way up. 50-day moving average support is held 3 days in a row now, and resistance is 147.39, 147.45, the high of the last 2 days. Wouldn't be surprised to see a daily inside bar form today if we can't break those levels. So NVDA, there's a potential play coming up here with this 2-minute equilibrium pattern. And we would use support of 211.63. So as we enter, if we enter the 212s here, ideally the closer to 211.63 the better, but that would be the stop level. And we are anticipating a higher low on the 2-minute time frame to form to stay in this equilibrium pattern while it continues to tighten up. XBB.TO. So XBB is dumping. The next daily support is $31. After 31, we're looking down at 30.95. Bears are in complete control. Lower highs and lower lows. Hourly time frame showing that. 30.97 is hourly support. UA resistance 1124 has broken. Next level to be watching on the daily time frame 1142. After 1142, 1150 psychological, and then 1182. Going to take a little bit of WEED off here. Exiting partial position. EAT. I'm not going to be able to get that ticker. Let me know the name of EAT. Those .cn tickers are definitely more difficult to get charts on. BEW. BEW upper Bollinger Band is support. That's at 52 cents. So 52 support, resistance is 55 and 57. And the daily chart is still favoring the bulls as long as we keep closing above the upper Bollinger Band in breakout mode. I've got 150 tickers coming up when I type in EAT. So I have to have more details. MJNA. MJNA bull break over 10.47 first thing this morning, and resistance is going to be up at 10.9 followed by 11.99. So the bulls are buying the dip. There was a bit of a panic. There was one of their co-founders died in a car crash, but he was long gone in like 2012. He had nothing to do with the company at this point. So I assume that's why we saw the huge sell-off and pretty solid bounce. RH. Consolidating, pretty clear volume climax on the 5 minute. Still healthy 5-minute consolidation, but the bulls need to hold 84.04 to keep 5-minute moving averages as support on this healthy consolidation. Daily time frame really needs to break 86.75 to break the lower high pattern on the daily. We've got lower highs 5 days in a row, and anything today under 86.75 is just another lower high. XLF is dumping, so we didn't break the high of the day, and we set a lower high and lower low. So the higher low on the hourly time frame has not been set yet. 26.03 is support, followed by 25.89, and we're at the low of the day on SPY due to this weakness. So we are still in consolidation mode in this market now. Have yet to establish a higher low on these hourly time frames. SPY support is down at 257.16. Twitter resistance, we've got a double top at 2024. So if you go bearish, that's the level to use as your stop level. 2024 breaking is a bull sign. And Twitter on the hourly time frame, looking at support after the low of today, it's down at 1960. Taking a little bit more WEED off here. And I'm going to ride the rest out into the afternoon, taking about half off at this point. So the bears are in control of the market as the sectors, the tech sector and the financial sector, hit lower highs and lower lows. Netflix is down 1.7%, and the next weakest tech name out of the big five is down 0.6%. So it is so very clearly the weakest name by about 3 times as much as any other bear. NVDA 2-minute equilibrium continues to tighten. We set a higher low at 212.79. So right now, just looking at the hourly time frames for XLK and XLF to try and gauge. We've got XLK rejecting from the hourly 20-period resistance. That's a key level, and XLF is now back under its 20-period hourly. It only regained it in after hours. ACB continuation at all-time highs, up 20 cents once the all-time high broke. We had Tesla hit that bull break and then consolidate after getting overdone on the 5-minute time frame. So the bulls are looking to hold the 20-period 5-minute moving average of 303.85. LAC is all bull. Bull break over 1115 and 1125 first thing. So 1155, very key resistance. If we break 1155, we have a new higher high on the daily time frame, and that would be a beautiful end of the week for the bulls. Support looking at 1112 on the 5-minute time frame, and all 5-minute moving averages, including exponential, holding all morning. So Twitter is pulling back from resistance again, the low $20 range, 2018, 2024, and now 2011 acting as resistance. Support is now 1985 and watching for a potential 5-minute equilibrium pattern. If we bounce and set a lower high, we'll look for the range to tighten up. But daily inside bar on Twitter so far will be worth watching into early next week. FCX on the daily. $15 psychological resistance followed by 1558. Bull break over the high of yesterday already. So it's a certainly a bullish day, seeing continuation on this bounce, but we have to make sure that the bulls hold up with 5-minute healthy consolidation, which so far it is, keeping 5-minute exponential supports. ACB for the Canadian MJ sector with its all-time highs is definitely helping the whole sector stay strong. Baba down near the low of the day. Hourly time frame for Baba is a little bit tricky. We had a V-shaped recovery yesterday. I'm looking at support of 184.82 that the bulls really want to hold. And now we're getting that WEED consolidation. So we'll look for WEED to establish a new higher low on the 5-minute time frame. I'm not really liking a Baba entry until we see a clear support level established. If we do make a bull entry, the hourly 20 period, 184.77 would be a must-hold level for me, because if we lose that level, there's a lack of support because we bounced so strong yesterday. We didn't really establish support on the way up. So the hourly 20 period is a key support on Baba for the bulls to maintain full control on this consolidation. NVDA bull break. Actually, I spoke too soon. We are at resistance, 215.70. And we just hit a lower high, 215.62. It's entirely possible we stay within this equilibrium pattern. 2-minute time frame is where it's at. Higher lows, lower highs. New support level is 212.79. PCLN broke that high of yesterday by less than $2, really, and not seeing follow through. Just about $2. And it looks like we just hit a new low of the day, or right at the low of the day. And if we hit a new low of the day, that's obviously a red flag. Keeping in mind this is a short-term oversold bounce, and the longer-term trend is owned by the bears on the daily and weekly time frame for PCLN. We do need to be quick in and out with bull profit. At this point, PCLN is still holding up just fine on the hourly for this oversold bounce to potentially hold up. We have to establish a higher low. The last hourly higher low was down at 1666. So definitely need a new higher low on consolidation. So NVDA bull break over the high of today is certainly a great start. Now it is 216.38 and 216.75. NVDA coming up on key resistance, bulls on top. That's looking to help the others in the sector. MU, healthy consolidation on the 5-minute time frame. ON not really seeing a lot of action, so there's not a huge correlation with NVDA amongst the sector. ACB is not slowing down. Blue sky breakout now up almost 10%. So ACB has the advantage in the MJ sector because every other name is battling resistance right now. So obviously the blue sky bull seeing the most ease of gains to the upside. 450 psychological resistance. That also means that ACB is the most overextended on the daily time frame, but certainly no sign of slowdown at this point. And it has gone about 35% in 5 days. BAC needs a solid close to confirm the bullish reversal doji on the daily time frame. Weekly time frame, significant bearish candle, but still holding exponential support. Financial sector is seeing the most consolidation that we've seen in months, but it's still healthy consolidation at this point. SQ on the daily is at all-time highs. Resistance is going to be 39 psychological and then 39.50. And support is 38.40 on the 5-minute. So BAC is not convincing on the daily time frame right now for the bulls. I would be using the hourly. And the hourly must hold the higher low at 26.40. So SPY bulls trying to bounce again. Certainly not a collapse day. Need to turn around the 5-minute trend and hit a new high of the day to have a higher low on the hourly. We keep bouncing off the hourly 200 period support. All pre-market, we bounced off of it 4 candles in a row, and the low of the day just bounced off of it as well. 257.48, still holding. WEED new support 1996 bulls need to maintain. LAC, that lack of resistance after 1155 certainly being seen by the bulls blowing through it and seeing huge gains. No entry at this point, very overextended, but congrats to anybody that was in already. CMG has a ton of resistance in the 276s. It's not any clear level. It's 276.88, 276.34, 41. And that is because the exponential daily resistances are hanging out in the 276s. So I would say high of yesterday, 276.88 is the one to be watching. NVDA on fire, 217.50, 218 psychological resistances, and the break of the high of the day was certainly a significant indication that the bulls had control. The break of the high at pre-market gave that follow through. So Tesla's trying to hold that 20-period 5-minute moving average support. Tested it and held it initially, set a new resistance at 305.62. Now testing it again. Certainly the bull momentum has faded on the morning from Tesla. Baba bulls did buy that dip and hold the low of the day and did break the lower high pattern on the 5-minute, so that does favor the bulls. And that gives us a new hourly higher low of 185.40. So that's an ideal ideal scenario for the bulls, holding that low of the day and seeing that kind of follow through. Checking in on the dollar dumped. We broke that 94.40 level and dumped 13 cents right away. Gold is not seeing the bull break that I would anticipate. Gold bulls are not seeing an inverse bull move on dollar weakness. Natural gas has a new support level on the 4-hour time frame at 317.1. It's going to be a really nice bearish entry on natural gas when we lose this 4-hour very clear higher low pattern. The more clear levels are in technical analysis, the more clear a pattern is, the more people are going to recognize and act on it. So again, technical analysis acting almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. When a level is so clear and everybody acts on it, we can anticipate more significant moves. So that's what I'm looking for on natural gas with the 4-hour time frame, a stair-step higher pattern. Once that does break, I would expect a decent bearish entry for some pullback, but it has not broken yet. GRPN. Oversold bounce trying to play out, and actually we weren't oversold. So a bounce is trying to play out. All 5-minute moving average resistances still to be tested, 554, 558. Daily chart just trying to form a higher low compared to 532. And 546, the low of today, would certainly be that higher low. So the daily chart definitely belongs to the bulls, and we'll see if we can close with a decent lower wick. Ideal close for the bulls would be in the upper 550s or better. So NVDA needs to establish a new support level on the 5-minute time frame. It's been all breakout for the last 40 minutes. Netflix still extremely weak. At this point, Netflix is about 5 times a greater loss in terms of percentage down than any of the big 5 tech names. Exponential 5-minute resistance driving the price down all morning on Netflix, multiple bounce attempts, and it's just the low of the day as support from here. 189.50. ACB is just a beast in the Canadian MJ sector. On absolute fire today, up 14-15%. Canadian sector keeps on giving. These blue sky bulls have so much power behind them. So definitely the leader of the space, ACB, today. Other names trying to follow along and not keeping up. SPY on the 5-minute time frame is breaking down to lower lows. It is the financial sector leading the way down, but the tech sector is weak as well. So still have not formed a higher low on the hourly, and we keep testing this hourly 200 period support. If we close this candlestick, which still has 55 minutes to go, 257.48 is the level the bulls need to maintain. ACBFF is the ticker. Thank you. Very overbought at this point, but you can look at the pretty chart and see how those gains. EXPE, nothing to speak about. It's a lead bear. It's a dumping bear that continues to set lower highs and lower lows every day. The hourly chart has rejected from the hourly 20-period moving average resistance 4 days in a row. That level is 117.67. Just lower highs and lower lows every day in breakdown mode. The biotech sector is breaking down a bit. We look at that XBI weekly chart. That middle Bollinger Band is a must hold. We are at it at 81.81. We have held it all of 2017, and we've tested it about 10 times, more than 10 times, and held it every single time. and we're at that level right now. So we have to watch that very close next week, because if we lose this middle Bollinger Band weekly support, that is a notable bear break. WEED 1996 support just broke by a penny. It's a lower high and a lower low on the 5-minute time frame. Only broke by a penny, so no clear bear signal yet, but the WEED bulls need to be cautious. HIVE is a potential bull flag on the 5-minute time frame as long as we keep the 5-minute exponential moving averages as support. Still in a tightening range on the daily. Daily middle Bollinger Band will be in play next week. Baidu is very weak. The 5-minute RSI is down at 35, so not oversold just yet. Testing the low of yesterday, 236.29. If that breaks, 235.03 is the next level. Bears are in control of Baidu daily chart, rejecting from daily exponential resistance a half dozen times the last 2 weeks. So I'm going to wrap up the morning webcam here. The SPY bears are still in control. It's not an all-out dump. We're still holding the low of yesterday. We're shaping up to be a potential daily inside bar, holding the daily middle Bollinger Band unless we see another leg down. Canadian MJ on fire again today. ACB is the leader in blue sky breakout. We've got the financial sector weak, as is the tech sector today, with Netflix the clear lead bear heading down to the low of the day. Tesla's bull move faded. Again, these bears, these overall daily and weekly bears like Tesla and CMG, they see their bull moves fade very easily because they have an overall bearish hang on them. PCLN, same thing. The oversold bounce played out. Couldn't see any further momentum today, and now we're seeing profit taking, significant profit taking, because it is an overall bear on the daily time frame. So earnings this session, I should say this earnings period, has turned some names bearish. Tesla among them, Tesla, PCLN, they are now bearish on the daily and weekly time frame. So that shifts momentum where, you know, the bulls don't keep their trades on as long because they are fighting the trend. So hope you all have a good rest of your Friday. I'll be back in 15 minutes to continue coverage in the chat room. Should definitely see some more exciting action in Canadian MJ, and cryptocurrency had some action this morning. Looking for more there. It's been a crazy week for both sectors. And I'll be back shortly.